Good evening. I'd like to call to order the public hearings of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for May 28th, 2019. The first item on the agenda is item number 1, a truth in taxation hearing as required under state law. The Maricopa County Community College District is considering a proposal to increase primary property taxes in fiscal year 2019-2020 on existing property. The proposed increase is 3.92%, which equals $18,575,912 in additional property tax revenues from existing property. At this time, I will afford any resident or taxpayer the opportunity to address the governing board concerning the proposed action under consideration to increase primary property taxes on existing property. I have one speaker, Laurita Moore.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about truth in taxation. For a long time, I've been a strong advocate for all of our students, and to the point that I have a confession to make. It's pretty embarrassing. I'm the best deal taxpayers have ever had. Best. I'm really bad with paperwork, so I never get my professional growth in, and I never get my trips in, and so I have absolutely no movement. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm a really good deal. So what have I been paying attention to while I haven't been filing my paperwork? And that's been to our students, especially our dreamers. Our students are my currency. Instead of counting my money, I count my students every semester. And when one of them is missing or when one of them isn't where it should be, I make notice, and it hurts a lot because they're my currency. They're what I live for. The role that the Maricopa has been playing of being the bad guy and charging 400% tuition to people who have been paying taxes, property taxes, which is how our institutions are funded, is unacceptable. I have to watch very gifted students being separated from their cohorts and told that they can't graduate with their class because they're a dreamer and they pay taxes. This is taxation without representation, and you need to stop what's going on. 400% is not acceptable, and they must be recognized if we're going to have truth in taxation, that our dreamer students pay taxes just as much as everybody else does, and they should be entitled to go and graduate and attend classes at our community colleges along with their cohorts. And I just want to remind all of you, in case you have short memories, I'm of the generation that was taught a lot about the Holocaust, that the separation and denial of education to particular groups of people was a hallmark of the Nazi era in Germany. That was one of the first signs when they did not allow Jewish students to complete school with their academic cohorts. And I ask all of you to come to reason and recognize truth in taxation, that our dreamers do in fact pay taxes, and they should be given a tuition the same. They should be able to graduate the same as with the cohorts that they've been going to school with their whole lives. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Are there any other residents or taxpayers that wish to speak to the board? If not, are there any comments from members of the board? Seeing none, that concludes the Truth in Taxation hearing. The next item on the agenda is item number 2, a public hearing concerning the adoption of the proposed budget of the Maricopa County Community College District for fiscal year 2019-2020. This hearing is required under state law. The purpose of the hearing is to give any resident or taxpayer the opportunity to protest the inclusion of any item in the proposed budget. At this time, I will afford any resident or taxpayer the opportunity to address the governing board concerning the proposed action under consideration. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Seeing none, are there any comments from members of the board? Seeing none, that concludes the public hearings. I'd now like to convene the special meeting of the board of May 28th, 2019. The first item on the agenda is item 1, a motion to levy the increased property taxes as previously described. Is there a motion?
Dr. Thor, I'd like to make the motion that we accept the we approve the proposed 20. All right, let me start over. So moved.
Thank you. There's been a motion to levy the increased property tax. Is there a second? There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by board members? In accordance with state law, the governing board will now vote on this motion by roll call vote. Mr. Saar.
Aye.
Mrs. McGrath.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Please proceed.
We're getting money from the legislature for a change, and we've had a huge decrease in enrollment, about 20%, and I don't see any need for a tax increase, and I vote nay.
Mrs. Nguyen.
I vote nay.
Mr. Hendricks.
No.
Dr. Narini.
Explain mine.
Please.
Vote, I see this as an investment in our institution, and I vote aye.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Working on the long game for the district to ensure that we can address the concerns raised by our citizens tonight and in the future, and to ensure quality education. I vote aye.
And I also vote aye. By a vote of 4-3, the motion passes. Item number 2 of the agenda is approval of the proposed fiscal year 2019-2020 Maricopa Community College District budget. In approving the budget, the board also authorizes the expenditure of budgeted revenues and realized or designated fund balances within the total amount budgeted in each fund. General Fund, Auxiliary, Plant Fund, Quasi-Endowment, Restricted, Prop 301, and Debt Service. The board has been presented with a budget that should be acted on whether or not the board, oops, that doesn't apply. Is there a motion to approve the budget?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded in a court. Is there any discussion by board members? Seeing none, in accordance with state law, the governing board will now vote on the motion by roll call vote. Mr. Saar.
Aye.
Mrs. McGrath.
For the reasons I gave for the tax increase, I vote no.
Mrs. Nguyen.
No.
Mr. Hendricks.
No.
Dr. Narini.
Aye.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Aye.
I also vote aye. By a vote of 4-3, the motion passes. The 2019-2020 Maricopa Community College District budget has been approved.
Dr. Thor?
Mrs. Sullivan.
I'd like to personally thank the accounting department, Mr. Hibbs and others, for leading us with much education to this budget. And thank you all for your hard work and effort to help us understand what this presents and where we can go forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I call to order the regular meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for May 28th, 2019. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Andrea Martinez, Rio Salado College student.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is with a great deal of pleasure that I make a special introduction this evening. With us is the recently elected and first student member of the Maricopa Community College's governing board, Alejandra Maya of Glendale Community College. Alejandra will be officially joining the board July 1st. And we're very, very anxious to serve with you. We have some substitutions this evening. Dr. Eric Lashinsky for Dr. Paul Dale. And Mr. Gary Yaquinto for Mr. Elliot Hibbs. We have 4 students from Rio Salado College here tonight to present the Student Life Report.
Thank you for inviting us here. President Thor, members of the board, Dr. Harper Marinick, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is Andrea Martinez, and I'm a recent graduate of Rio Salado Community College. I just walked across that stage earlier this month, along with Richard. He's a high school graduate and just has incredible accomplishments. My journey's been a little bit different. I went to college back in the day, but did not finish. I thought that was kind of a dream that was just a chapter to be closed and never reopened. And now I've been a student at Rio Salado for 8 years. Apparently they can't get rid of me. I also think I'm one of the oldest students at Rio Salado. In fact, I'm taking a class this summer, but I want to really take the opportunity to brag about Rio Salado. People who know me recognize that every chance I get, I love to talk about Rio Salado and the unique opportunity that it provided me. I believe it's kind of a niche within a niche. The community college program is just such a fantastic avenue for all variety of students, young students and older students like me. Also, it offers an online platform, which is unique within that system. And for people who cannot attend a traditional college classroom situation, such as myself, it opened a door that led me down this wonderful path to associate degrees, a certificate of completion, and I've got 90 credits so that I can transfer to one of our great state universities, Northern Arizona University, with their 90-30 transfer plan. I feel like it's a little known secret that could be really advertised and marketed because so few people know about it. It's not the avenue for everyone, but it certainly is a wonderful opportunity for people like me. What Rio does is they offer a lot of student engagement, which is hard to do for an online college. I got an email one day that said, "You qualify for the honors program." I was surprised and delighted, didn't know anything about it. And one of the first things it said is you have to complete a college engagement with an activity on the campus. So that's when I discovered Phi Theta Kappa. And with that, I'd like to introduce a few people from Rio Salado. We have President Kate Smith here. We also have the advisors for PTK, John Bastian, Melanie Abs, and Ine Peterson. One of the things you'll notice about Rio Salado that is different from the other programs, can you switch this slide for me? Is the National Society of Leadership and Success. It is something that is unique to Rio Salado. The Phi Theta Kappa I've already mentioned, something that is near and dear to my heart. I've also participated in the Maricopa Global Leadership Retreat and recently was able to host the SPIF program for their Friday field trip at the Arizona State Legislature, We had a wonderful panel of speakers, including one of the senators, an intern, an assistant to the president, and the PAGE program. Next slide, please. Thank you. So a little bit more about myself. When I had to come to an activity at Rio Salado, it was a little bit foreign. First of all, I didn't really realize there was a campus with a building and so forth. And secondly, it was very awkward for me. I'm older, I was returning to academics, and I've worked all my life, so I had lots of work experience, but I was lacking that bachelor's degree. And for me, it really, it kind of drew my confidence down. I could know a lot, I had a lot of life experience, but I didn't have that degree. So I came to the PTK activity. It was packing toiletry items for the homeless, and I was so warmly welcomed, and I became very engaged with that, made lots of friends of all ages, again, unique to the online platform of Rio Salado. You have all different ages, so I was not out of place. And it opened the door for me to participate in the Global Leadership Program. I recently was invited to the Be a Leader Foundation and have been working with 8th grade students for the last year, mentoring them in a lower income section of South Phoenix. I discovered they have an ongoing mentoring program, so I can be partnered up with 1 to 3 high school students to help them see their way to college enrollment and hopefully college success. Also, I was blessed to receive the All Arizona Academic Scholarship. So my path to NAU is now clear, and I couldn't be happier. I couldn't say more about Rio Salado and how supportive it's been to me over the years. These advisors have walked with me every step of the way and have helped me figure it out. It's harder than you think. So with that, I'd like to introduce the next student, and that is Richard Wing.
Thank you for inviting me here, President Thor, members of the board, Dr. Harper Marinick, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is Richard Wing. I am a high school graduate from Mountain Point High School. I earned Rio Salado credits through the ACE program as well as the dual enrollment program, earning my associates in science, associates in arts, as well as my academic certificate in language studies in Spanish. Before I begin, I would like to mention a quote from Benjamin Franklin. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. This is this quote expresses what I feel about my experiences at Rio Salado. It's a great investment for me. As a high school and college graduate, through the ACE and dual enrollment program, Rio Salado has helped me pursue my career in actuarial science. I have learned numerous skills, met with impactful people, and received several opportunities to pursue my career. For starter, the most important skill I learned is communication. When I was in high school, I was quite naive. I hated the thought of having to speak in front of people, like right now. Therefore, I avoided it completely. Unless it's graded, of course. Eventually, I took a class from Rio Salado called Communication 100, and wow, reality hit me hard. I found out that communication is unavoidable. Yikes. You need communication to talk with friends, ask teachers for help on assignment, and perform job interview. This skill that I learned helped me to connect with numerous people. During a PTK meeting, I met with a Rio Salado Director of Academics Affairs, Todd Eckes, and PTK Coordinator, John Bastian. After a small talk with them on my future career plans, they immediately helped me get connected to people in the actuarial science field by introducing me to representatives from insurance companies such as State Farm, Nationwide, and FICO. With their help, I'm in the middle of the process of writing my resume to apply for an internship for these companies, as well as taking my next step towards the actual science field. In conclusion, I would like to thank Rio Salado for providing me these great opportunities and helping me have an insured investment in my education. So thank you. Now, let me pass the microphone to John Bastian.
Hello, President Thor, members of the board, Dr. Harper Marinick, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is John Bastian, as Richard mentioned. I'm the coordinator of student life at Rio Salado College. Dr. Thor did mention correctly that we were supposed to have 4 students here. One got strep throat, and so it's probably better she's not here, and the other had a family commitment come up. So I want to touch on just briefly some of the wonderful diversity of experiences they had, in addition to Andrea and Richard's experiences, because we have a variety of opportunities. Kenyatta Williams first came to a Phi Theta Kappa meeting last summer sometime, I think it was August, and we visited about a number of things, and one opportunity that sparked an interest in her was the Student Public Policy Forum that all of you are familiar with. As you know, or likely know, it's a year-long program through Maricopa. And she decided to join that and was a member throughout the year along with 2 other Rio Salado students. As a result of that and other participation in different community events, she was a recipient of the Chancellor's Civic Leadership Medallion. And so Kenyatta, I don't want to go into too many details. Unfortunately, she's not here. But she also mentioned that SPIF led to an internship opportunities in public policy that she will be taking part in the next semester, and she's now moving on to ASU. The second person that could not be here, Rochelle Yazzie, a recent graduate also. She was an inducted member for the National Society of Leadership and Success. She spoke at one of our induction ceremonies in the fall, a member of Phi Theta Kappa, and just recently presented on behalf or with the support of our President Smith to the President's Advisory Council at Rio Salado. She mentioned, though again she would have liked to be here, but these opportunities have helped her expand her leadership skills and her potential for the future just by different engagement opportunities. So I'm sorry you have to miss these 2 wonderful speakers. It's just me right now, but they would have been nice to hear. I do want to highlight, as we're closing, there are other additional opportunities that we did not mention. We just highlighted a few things tonight. As you can see there, we're involved with some different activities and opportunities. But before we close completely, I want to make sure that all of you have a chance to ask our student questions. Any questions for our students? You can give them tough questions. No. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, John, and congratulations, Andrea and Richard, and we wish you continued success. Presenting for the Faculty Executive Council is Keith Hefner.
President Thor, members of the board, Dr. Harper Marinick, members of the CC, and guests. My name is Keith Hefner, and I'd like to reintroduce myself. I am the Faculty Association President now for the 2nd time. I've been teaching at Mesa Community College since 2003 in the field of music and audio production technologies. Prior to my time teaching, I had a career in Los Angeles as a musician, arranger, and composer. I play keyboards, and I've worked with a lot of very interesting musicians and even toured a bit. I last served as Faculty Association President in academic year 2014-15. Many of my friends and colleagues asked me before I self-nominated for the 2nd time, "Are you sure you want to do this again?" Don't you remember what you went through the first time? Didn't you just serve as past president for the 2nd time? My wife Val just exploded in laughter and left the room. I do remember though, and for me, all in all, it was an honorable and necessary thing to do. It wasn't a thankless job for me. In fact, I was able to participate in and have a positive influence on many situations and issues that helped faculty and students. Not everything worked out just right, but I believe the general effect of my presidency was positive back then. I continue to be willing to serve because I believe that the Faculty Association's history of supporting all residential faculty as higher education professionals with all the rights and privileges defined by the American Association of University Professors provides significant value to the institution and to the student learning environment. Now that I've reintroduced myself, I'm pleased to have the opportunity tonight to reintroduce you to the Faculty Association. I think the notion of a reintroduction is important, as it provides an opportunity to share with you not just who we are, but also to reevaluate any prior notions you may have had about who we are and what we do. We are a voluntary association of full-time faculty who support the academic and professional values essential to higher education. We are the representative body of the residential faculty in academic and professional matters, in contract and policy development, and in matters of shared governance. Sometimes, when necessary, we are the voice of loyal opposition, raising criticisms and concerns designed to help resolve issues and achieve our collective goals effectively. What we do is promote communication, collaboration, and education among the faculty and between faculty and other groups. We do all this in the interest of creating a teaching and learning environment that allows us to give students the best educational experience we can. I ask that you take a moment to consider the description I have provided and whether it creates any cognitive dissonance for you. If it does, I encourage you to speak with us so that we can have a conversation in the hope of achieving a shared understanding. We must inhabit a shared reality if we are going to make progress as a district. And off script, I'm pleased and honored to be here. I wish you all a good summer, and I look forward to working with all of you. And you can contact me anytime. Most of you have my phone number. If you don't, I'll be willing to share it, and you can reach me through district email, of course. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Presenting for the Adjunct Faculty Association is Patrick Roddy.
How do I get my PowerPoint? Does this push the button?
Here comes help.
I think I got it. There we go. I should be able to figure this out. I'm a teacher. President Thor, members of the board, Dr. Harper Marinick, and members of the CEC. My name is Patrick Roddy, and I am the Adjunct Faculty Association president of Maricopa Community Colleges. I'm also an adjunct faculty member at Scottsdale Community College in the School of Film and Theater. This spring semester has been a busy time for the Adjunct Faculty Association, and I would like to share a short recap of our two signature events, as well as tell you about one of our representatives and how she serves the district as an AFA board member. In March, we produced, in collaboration with the Maricopa Center for Learning and Innovation, MCLI, the LEAD Conference, which stands for Learning and Engagement for Adjunct Development. The event was hosted at Gateway Community College and was very successful. Some of the highlights of the event were some engaging sessions by our adjunct faculty, which included topics like class clans, which was an interesting approach in community based on Native American traditions. And another interesting session called, another one called Tactile, Tangible, and Low-Tech Student Engagement Techniques. it was a great event, and we're very happy to have it. In April this month, we had the Outstanding Adjunct Faculty Awards held here at Rio Salado College, again through the collaboration of MCLI. The presentation awards that you can see up on the screen were made by students at Chandler Gilbert and Mesa, and the wood bases were laser engraved by a student at South Mountain Engineering Lab. The awards recognized 3 adjunct faculty from each campus, and it really was a fun celebration of faculty and the important work they do in serving our students. I would like to thank Dr. Thor and Ms. Wynn for joining us at that event. I would also like to thank Chancellor Harper-Marinick for presenting the awards. It really made for a special evening for those particular winners. And here's a photograph of all of our winners of the awards. The AFA appreciates the support of MCLI and really enjoys the collaborative working relationship in producing these events. We would like to acknowledge and thank, in particular, Patricia Guillen and the entire MCLI staff for their support this semester. Let me introduce to you Deb Abley. Deb is an adjunct faculty member at Chandler Gilbert. As a board member of the AFA, she's an active member serving on both our education and award committees. She also serves as the representative for the Chandler Gilbert campus. I wanted to share with you what Deb does on a regular basis to give some perspective of the impact an AFA representative can have. Each month, for example, along with the job that she does as an adjunct and her full-time job I think she has, she sends emails out to all the adjunct faculty at Chandler Gilbert to let them know about important events that might be happening on our campus. Events, I believe specifically this semester, kind of like the Chandler Gilbert School Picnic. Other events that happen at the district level, like our LEAD conference. She also actively collaborates with the Campus Center, CTL, on events like Faculty Appreciation Day, and she participates on the President's Leadership Council and regularly meets with President Peterson to discuss issues directly related to adjunct faculty. In short, Deb Abley is an engaged AFA representative and is a Maricopa adjunct faculty member committed to the success of our students. In closing tonight, I would like to present to Dr. Thor an example of the Outstanding Adjunct Award for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Patrick. That's beautiful. Thank you, that was very thoughtful. We have 2 individuals receiving emeritus distinction tonight, Dr. Mary Lou Mosley and Dr. Marilyn Cristiano, both of Paradise Valley Community College. Unfortunately, neither of them can be with us tonight. So Dr. Lashinsky, will you please accept the awards on their behalf?
Sure, thank you. Dr. Thor, members of the governing board, Chancellor Harper-Marinick, and esteemed CEC colleagues and guests. It's my honor to accept this award on behalf of 2 outstanding leaders, both for Paradise Valley Community College as well as Maricopa Community Colleges. Many in this room have probably worked with Dr. Marilyn Cristiano or with Dr. Mary Lou Mosley, and I know if you've worked with them, you know their passion for students, you know their passion for their respective disciplines and their respective work they did at the colleges, and they were always willing to offer their voice and to offer their opinion in any conversation and discussion. So I see some smiles with that comment too. So again, it is my honor to accept this award on their behalf, and we will make sure that at the appropriate time back at the college we will present this to them as well. And together they had over 70 years of experience with the Maricopa Community Colleges, so it's a well-earned and well-deserved distinction. So thank you.
Thank you. We're now at the Chancellor's report. Dr. Harper-Marinick.
Thank you, Dr. Thor, members of the board. We have 2 presentations tonight. The first presentation is an update on the fields of interest, And we have faculty members Eva Espinosa, Matt Jolly, and Meredith Warner and Matt Freed. If you can please come to the podium for the presentation. Thank you.
President Thor, members of the governing board, Chancellor Harper-Marinick, members of CEC, guests, hello. My name is Matt Jolly. I'm an English faculty member at Gateway Community College, and I'm here with the co-chair of the Fields of Interest project team, Eva Espinosa. Also presenting with us tonight are Meredith Warner, the District Director of Integrated Student Support, and Matt Freed, the Chief Officer of Marketing, Chief Marketing Officer. Sorry. All right, good. So, there used to be like a script up here that had the little thing on how to address the governing board, and it's gone. It's a good thing I was paying attention. So the work that we're presenting tonight, it really began a year and a half ago during the during the spring 18 semester. There was a work team, a Fields of Interest work team that was 30 people big. It was intentionally cross-functional, cross-hierarchical, cross-college. We had faculty from a number of disciplines. We had workforce development folks. We had academic affairs folks and advisors and more that I could mention. And so based on that work, we created the Fields of Interest. There are 9 of them. And the list that you're looking at here on this slide is a representative list only. So I'll just remind all of you that we have over 1,500 distinct academic plans in SIS. So putting all 1,500 on a single slide would have been challenging. This list exists only to help people understand what each field of interest is about. It's not a marketing tool. So if you're wondering, how did one program get on the list? And that was not the point. The point was, what is this field of interest about? Here's a collection of degrees and certificates within that field. While I'm just doing this introduction, I want to talk about the purpose for fields of interest. So some people look at taxonomy like this, and they think that it's about ordering and organizing the things so that they can be found in like a website or something like that. And that's a tertiary concern. Really, there are 2 primary concerns for the creation of fields of interest. The first is to limit unintended excess credits as students explore within their degrees. So if a student comes to Maricopa and they say, I really don't know what I want to do, and we say, okay, well, how about you get started in the health sciences field of interest, pick a degree or certificate there and get going. And then they take their first semester, second semester of courses, and maybe they take anatomy and physiology, which is a course that they would probably take if they're in the health sciences field of interest. Well, then they decide they want to change, but they change within the health sciences field of interest. So now they're in a different degree or certificate, but their courses they're not lost credits. They're not lost time or lost money, right? And so for those students who stay within the field of interest when they switch degrees, it helps them to minimize excess credits. The other reason that we create these is as a means for organizing the student experience, which is really the subject of future slides, so I'm not going to steal Yvette's thunder, but I'll pass the mic to her.
So good evening. My name is Eva Espinosa, and as Matt said, I'm biology faculty at South Mountain. And along with Matt, I was the co-lead for the Fields of Interest project team. I apologize if I sound like a teenage boy going through puberty. I'm trying to regain my voice. So I'm here to talk to you really tonight about the work that we've done over this year and a half with the Fields of Interest. And so one of our very, very first items that we did after we really came up with a robust description of what these fields of interest were was to identify the name field of interest, right? And in order to do that, we asked students. So it was really important to our team to collect student feedback. And so the term fields of interest that is going to be used district-wide in order to, as a name for these categories, was really identified by students. In addition, we wanted to make sure that we were creating a really holistic process. So we didn't start naming the categories. We actually started categorizing before we started naming. We didn't want any assumptions as we were putting together degrees and certificates and all the different programs we have for our students. So we identified which categories naturally would emerge based on the curriculum and the coursework within each one of those programs. And then again, we went to the students, hundreds of students. I think the number was 950 some students in order to identify, here are these categories, what are some potential names for these categories? And that's how we identified the 9 names for the fields of interest that we currently have. Some other common elements within the fields of interest. The fields of interest categories didn't just stop at our team. We also went to the instructional councils. Matt and I and our team actually met with every instructional council, something like 175 individual faculty, most of which were representatives from their instructional councils. We met with advisors in the advising council, as well as curriculum and career services employees. So we wanted to make sure that we got a lot of feedback. And so we went through a couple of iterations of the fields of interest. Initially, we had education, for example, was folded in with another field of interest. And based on the feedback that we received, it became apparent that education had to become its own field of interest. And so we call this grouping of fields of interest version 1.0 because, again, we're developing a process currently to be able to modify those once we get some feedback and some data from students. So the other thing that we really wanted to talk about, most of the spring semester, Matt and I spent going on what we called a field of interest roadshow throughout the district. We talked to over 1,700 employees throughout the district. And in doing so, really we're trying to acculturate the fields of interest within the district. And these are some of the things that we presented to the employees across the district as we get ready to implement the fields of interest. And so these are best practices that the team gathered as they did their work. So at institutions that implemented fields of interest successfully, what are some of the elements that they did in order to really implement those fields of interest and ingrain those fields of interest within what they do every day? And so these are just some examples of how colleges can sort of manifest those fields of interest at their institutions. And so Meredith Warner is going to talk some more detail about that ongoing work.
Good evening. As Yvette said, I'm Meredith Warner. I'm the District Director for Integrated Student Support around Guided Pathways. So to piggyback a little bit on what Yvette and Matt said, the manifestation of fields of interest happens at the colleges. So it's no longer words on a page or a website. You actually really feel it. But to do that, we created shared design principles across all 10 colleges. So with the support of MLT, which has all of CEC on it, and Dr. Harper Marinick, we created, this is just a mere example of it. This is our 5th shared design principle, and these 4 elements live beneath it. But if you look at numbers 2 and 3, it's very focused around fields of interest. The students will specifically select a field of interest based on their identified goals and their interests. And the 3rd one, which states that students will be assigned an embedded advising contact in their chosen field of interest. And so that leads me to my next slide, which is really sort of a thank you slide to the governing board and CEC. You're the ones who committed last year 32 high-level advisors in this district. And what I can tell you is that the people sitting in this audience and sitting here at CEC have added to that number. So the number is now 74 high-level advisors across our district. And if it wasn't without your support and your help, we wouldn't have been able to build a model of advising specifically around fields of interest so that we could build integrated supports that really are laser focused on a student's academic goal. Because our goal is from the moment they step foot on campus that we're continuing to remind them that you're here with an intent, and that intent is to graduate. It's not merely about an enrollment number. It winds up being about their goals from day one all the way through the student life cycle. And so on my last slide, I want to talk to you about a little bit about what you can anticipate come fall 2020. These are commitments from the people in front of you and across all 10 colleges. They're committed to assigning new college students, both credential and transfer-seeking students, to a field of interest. So everything you heard Matt and Yvette talk about in terms of that support, every new student will be assigned to a field of interest. We are creating integrated supports. So I like to coin something that Dr. Peterson shared with us in one of our meetings about the idea of creating it like a doctor's office, is that you know who your primary care physician is. And there are loads of people that help that primary care physician, and sometimes you get to meet with them, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you see a physician's assistant, sometimes you have a phlebotomist, but they all live around that particular primary care provider. And so we look at those case manager advisors as being those primary care providers across our 10 campuses. And we're supported by Dr. Mark Cohen and Bettina Sellis with technology solutions for the current technologies we have and new technologies that we're going to leverage around how we support that advising model. There's other really cool stuff happening with fields of interest. It's not just about our advisors. And I'm going to hand it off to Matt Freed.
Hello, I'm Matt Freed, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer, Matt. So all of this hard work that this Matt and Yvette have been doing over the last year, meeting with all of these people, has to manifest itself somehow to the students. So we have already updated our Maricopa website with fields of interest. So if you go on there, underneath academic and careers, you will see fields of interest. And what happens is we're changing the student experience. We're already doing this. So if you click on that, the student's going to see this new page with all 9 field of interest. And what they can do is they can then select, if they wanted to select business. Oh, sorry about that. They want to select business, they actually go to this next page. Has the same icon and has a little bit of blurb, a little bit of a marketing spin about what this is, what you could do in this field of interest. And then below that, we have all the pathways and programs. So if they selected accounting, this is a future page. Right now, if they select accounting, it goes to a CCTA page. We're in works with Dr. Cohen and Bettina Sellis, getting these pages updated with our marketing pages. We're iterating, right? So we're on version 1.0. We'll be on version 2.0 soon. And then this is where they'll get program details. We'll start to include things like bureau statistics for job openings, placement, things like that. And not only are we on the web, we are also developing marketing materials. It's going to change everything that we do in marketing. So we're not just going to be talking about very specific programs, but broad, overarching fields of interest where students can understand, I'm in this field. They're going to identify that with that field. We're going to have T-shirts, mugs. We're going to have things for the colleges. It's all going to be branded with these new icons and with the colleges. I'll give it back to Matt.
So I just want to say one more quick thing, and that is that the most recent work with the development within SIS of a fields of interest field that is actually active, that's working right now. So students are currently being identified with a field of interest connected to that. And the work to get this up on the web has required a tremendous lift by Bettina Sellis and Dr. Mark Cohn and Matt Freed and their teams. And it's been a real honor and privilege working with those folks over the last few months. So I want to make sure that, that's said. So, questions?
Mr. Sark.
Matt, thank you very much. This is a long way from where we started, so well done. I'm looking at it from a student perspective who decides that they want to start their degree process, and they go online and go through the typical way of looking for a class or two to take this first semester. At what point are they engaged with an advisor or somebody that's going to bring them into focus on a field of interest? Thanks, Meredith.
So we're really hopeful that at the onset, at the moment a student interacts with the campus, whether it's because they're on a district website, they're on the college website, or they actually step foot on campus, that we will have a new intake process so that when students come to the campus and express an interest in a program or just in taking a few classes, that we start to hone in on what types of classes. I mean, we recognize, Dr. Harper-Marinick was good to mention it in the MLT meeting, that not all of our students come here for a robust set of classes, but we still have an opportunity with those students. So if a student comes here to take a Bio 180 class because it's a smaller class size than ASU, we still identify them as somebody at ASU who might be a STEM student, right? We find out their intent there. Why would we not want to continue that relationship with them, knowing what their intent was at their future institution? And so the goal is upon intake to always ask those inquiry questions so that we can always assign a field of interest associated with that student.
How about dual enrollment high school students?
So we're working with, I know Dr. Brock is here, and so is Felicia Ganther. We're actually working on that piece of it as well, so that I know some of our colleges like Mesa have advisors embedded in the high schools, which is a wonderful model, and we don't all have it, but to be able to start that intake process early so that we start to identify goals. One of the things the state of Arizona is doing, and it's wonderful work around career and academic pathways, so that the students start to identify them early in 9th and 10th grade. And we want to latch on to that at the community colleges around fields of interest too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Narini.
Thank you for this. This is all new and exciting, and it's wonderful. And I see the part about the integrated support and onboarding. How are we going to, or what work are we doing to help? I mean, I know counselors, and we're kind of slow to get onto new things. And so how are we going to get them on board? What are we working to get them on board, to educate them with all these new changes? Because they're the front line for so many of our students as they make their transition to college.
So can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So are you thinking of like an academic counselor, or are you thinking of a counselor like that would be in a counseling center?
From the high school side, from how do we help educate the high school counselors to make sure that they understand this, because they're going to be the ones that are funneling our students through?
So, our expectation is, with a good alignment, and obviously I work very closely with the colleagues that are working with our dual and our early college programs. Our goal is to, as we spend time recruiting within the local high schools and within some of our sort of more rural high schools, that we're going to be able to talk about our own transition. So the picture is wide. We haven't solved all of the problems yet. Technically, we hope to have until about November or December of this year to really roll out the full plan. But it is our expectation that by enrollment in March, we will have a full plan both for the high schools, for our general population, and for our returning students.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Laurita Moore.
I'm a huge fan of guided pathways.
Microphone.
I'm a huge fan of guided pathways and have enjoyed doing it in its preliminary form at my college. And I do get a lot of early college students at 15. When they don't have their major decide, I participate in that, and they're supposed to do the My 360 and all that stuff. But when a 15-year-old is in front of you and they, I think it's unreasonable to expect them to know what they're going to do and be for the rest of their lives. I have some exercises that help them work through some of that stuff, but I'm really curious about how are you going to get them into, and at 15, how realistic is it to expect them to have had enough experience? So that's what I'm eagerly waiting for.
Thank you, Laurita. I don't know that we have all the answers. I'm going to start there. I will say that one of the beauties of the fields of interest is that they are very broad. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we have an expectation that they're going to remain in that field of interest forever. One of the things we intend to do in a first-year experience, and hopefully within the first semester, is within that gateway course, whether it's a dual enrollment course or it's a course on our campus, is in that gateway course, our expectation is that there will be career exploration that happens, and that's more on the career development theory side. So we talk about counseling, and we talk about how we embed that into that first experience to really find out whether or not is the student going into nursing because they've had an ailing parent their whole life, or is the student genuinely interested in being a nurse, right? Is it what they know, or is it, some bigger cause for them? So the idea is to embed that in the first year experience. Will that happen in version 1.0? Probably not, but we're hoping that within the next year or two it will.
Thank you. I would like to say thank you to all of you, because what may seem like simple work is not. And as we heard Rob Johnstone back in January say that it's complex work in any institution, much worse in Maricopa. So it is impressive that in a year and a half, we are where we are. So I want to thank all of you for all of the time, the energy, and the investment of yourselves into bringing us to this point. It is impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And second presentation, in the past, we've had a bit of demonstration from Dr. Cohen about the MyInfo app, and we now have a video that has been produced by students to help other students understand what the app is about. So I would like to invite Professor Eddie Webb to the podium. He is a professor at Mesa Community College, and it is the brains behind the new media lab experience at the college. I'll let you explain what the work is and then the video. Thank you.
Thank you. I was told I was supposed to sit in the back and wave after the video, so I wasn't prepared. But President Thor, Chancellor, Provost, our president, you guys know who you are, right? So what we're going to show you is a piece. Joe and his team approached us and asked if students would like to be involved in marketing for the My Maricopa app. And so we got together and we did a lot of production meeting, like you would as a company. And this is what the students produced. And then I'll tell you a little more.
Hey Sahar, how's it going?
Hi, good, you?
I'm doing well. Hey, I got a question for you. So what classes are you taking this semester?
I'm taking World Religion and English 102.
Cool, but I bet those classes have a lot of textbooks you have to buy.
Actually, each class has only one textbook.
Yeah, but I bet you have to search everywhere for those textbooks online.
It actually looks like they're both in stock at the campus bookstore.
And how do you know all this?
It's easy. It's in Maricopa MyInfo app. You just download the app from the App Store, log in with your MEID, and ta-da! All the information you need is at your fingertips. Hey dude, where you going?
There's only one copy of my book left in stock.
Wait, how do you know that?
Well, I downloaded the app.
Awesome.
It's information at your fingertips.
Access class schedules.
Email instructors.
Check your financial status.
Find textbooks. Set up payment plans.
Order your transcripts.
See to-do and checklist items.
And digital wayfinding.
It's all on the Maricopa MyInfo app.
So, yeah, thank you, Joe, for inviting us and the students to participate in their own marketing. The New Media Lab, actually today was the first day that the lab has been institutionalized, thanks to our president, Haney, and our provost, and the support of our chancellor. So we hope to be producing more and more of these for our college and for the district. And it's always nice when you have students take over, when you get back to the studio, that things are in focus. Because that's like my biggest thing. But we started today, we had about 26 ACE students and hoop students, and we'll have a 5-week institute where we're taking the language arts and starting to do things like this. I also would like to say, this is the first, I've been in here teaching for 20 years, and this is like the last place I just like being with my students. But I would like to say, Osio, Tahijo, Tahigo, Aya Ski, Katua, Anivo, Wia, Galia Hiliga, Wado, Gagega Asami, Sakumi, Wado, Gali Ahiliga, Eriweb. I'm a tribal member. This is my language. I wanted to welcome you all to Indian country. That's a joke. And I know you're in charge. And so, yeah, I just always wanted to do that. And I just always wanted to come here and hear my language. My father's a member of my father's a member of Salt River. I'm a member of Katua. And it's a real privilege to be here. The New Media Lab has taken on the attention of Adobe and Google. And we have been invited to be keynote speakers at their educational conferences, some of the biggest in the country. And our students are changing the culture in the language arts. And what I was saying was to modernize the language arts. But now I'm starting to say normalizing, because it should be multimedia and these sorts of technologies should be normal in the classroom. I had a student in his second semester just on the skill set. He's a gifted student to begin with, but just in a couple of semesters started his own business doing this. And I shared this at our president's forum that he started his own business and now he's doing wedding videos for $5,000 a piece, and he's doing 2 of those a month. That's almost your guys' kind of money, right? So I was like, so we're giving them skills that they can immediately take into the workplace, and that they can tell stories. We have a theme every year. And this year our theme is native seed rejuvenation, because that's happening across the country where tribes are rejuvenating their own foods. And so I would like to come back and do a proper presentation on the New Media Lab that we have, because I really want you to see the work that the students do. It's very in-depth, very professional, and they research everything that they do. And it's increased their writing, and I'm finishing a dissertation in this in August, so that's where all that's coming from. But I really would like to bring some students and let you be proud of them, So, Wadon, in our language we say, Dona de Gohon'i, which means we don't have a word for goodbye. I'll see you again.
Thank you.
We're now at Citizens Interim. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board about items that are not on the agenda for discussion today. In compliance with the open meeting law, the governing board will neither discuss nor take action on issues raised during this portion of the agenda. Each speaker is asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. I have one request. Jim Hill from the Maricopa Community College's Police Officers Association.
President Thor, members of the board, Chancellor Dr. Harper Marinick, members of the CEC and guests. My name is Jim Hill. I am the president of the Maricopa Community College's Police Officers Association. The father of modern policing, Robert Peel, once said that the test of police efficiency is the absence of crime and disorder and not the visible evidence of police activity. Well, sometimes you have to let the bosses know what you're doing, or you don't know we're out there, other than we wave around and do the parade wave. So I'm here tonight to actually brag about the police department and our officers. We probably have the most experienced police department in Arizona. And I don't just mean old, I mean experienced. We have about 70 officers and around 2,000 years of experience. So we come from all corners of not just Arizona, Maricopa County, but we have people from out of state that come here specifically to be part of our department. Why do we hire experienced officers? It costs $100,000 to $125,000 to take somebody from testing to solo patrol as a new officer, and they'll never come in with the experience we have. So what you have is a group of experts So we have subject matter experts in community policing, cartels, gangs, active shooters, defensive tactics, syndicate investigations, narcotics, auto theft, explosive ordnance, tactical operations, and threat assessment. We have so many instructors and have taught cops, we could fill a stadium with police officers we've all taught. So what I want you to get an idea of, when you call us for a situation, it's going to get handled. We have the experience to do that. In short, Chief Denlinger and retired Chief Lawman put together a team of all-stars, and we're building on that. We do community policing projects all over the place. We know that when we go out in uniform, we represent the district. We are one of the biggest advertising billboards you're going to have when we're out doing good things. We do programs like, we just did a Battle of the Badges, charity football game for injured officers. I'm going fast. We're raising money for injured officers and scholarships for first responder students at our colleges. And this was at the request of one of our student groups on MCC, that we bring the game back to MCC, our Native Strength group, because they're in the fire science programs. We also are getting ready to do Backpack to School program, where we go out to the community and we bring kids, underserved kids, onto our campuses to give them an experience. We get them a backpack, stuffed with school supplies, and a $20 gift card for new shoes. Plus they have pizza lunch with the cops. What can be better than that? At MCC this year, for the second year, we're going to be hosting the Arizona Black Law Enforcement Employees Association Conference. What's unique about this, it's also training for law enforcement, but there's a whole separate side that's for high school. I know Franklin High School comes every year. I've been there probably for the last 15 years. And we'll be doing that in September. So I see my time is up.
Oh, please complete your thoughts.
Well, right after Able, we go into planning our Christmas program, Shop with a Cop. Last year, and remember when came to see them, we had one at SCC and one at MCC. Between those two, we had 400 kids and 400 cops have breakfast, hang out, get to see Disney princesses, Santa, all the stuff, and then go Christmas shopping. So there's 800 people and their families that had a positive experience on our campuses, so they know not to be afraid of college. That's what we try to incorporate in all our programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. We now move to the consideration of consent agenda items. All items with an asterisk are consent matters unless they are removed from the consent agenda at this time. Do any board members or the chancellor wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passes unanimously. We now move to information items. And I did have to indicate how delighted I am to see 12.1, a constitution and bylaws for the Maricopa Student Senate. Dr. Harper-Marinick, would you like to comment about that?
Thank you, Dr. Thor. I would like to actually ask AVC Felicia Ganther if she could come to the podium to explain what we have done and the process that we followed. And yes, we are also delighted that we finally have a Maricopa Student Senate approved.
Good evening.
Good evening.
President Thor, members of the board, Chancellor Harper-Marinick, Provost Fisher, members of CEC. I am also delighted that before you is our proposed structure, bylaws for our Maricopa Student Senate. I'd like to honor and recognize Kevin Bilder, will you please stand? And Lorena Austin, will you please stand? These two individuals have been working very hard over the last year with student leaders from across the district as well as student life managers in order to provide you what you see today. Specifically, I want to say thank you to Lorena. What you may not know is she was the recent student body president for Mesa Community College. And so her work, even though she transferred on to ASU, she stayed on with us for this year to make sure that this came to fruition. So thank you both for your help. Yeah, you can clap for them, yes. So please know that this is truly student effort. We all came into a room together and identified what the students liked and didn't like, what the students wanted and didn't want to be represented for them. And so specifically you will see how they want each of the colleges to be represented, that they would like to have their own presiding officer who will then work with our newly selected student trustee so that they will have ability to present items to the chancellor and to the board as necessary. There are the specifics, of course, that are very similar to how our student councils are run at the college level, so as to not cause any confusion or inconsistencies between how the students operate on the campus versus how they will operate collectively. We are also excited about our partnership with our government relations office, and we will also be looking at leadership training and development, Robert's rules of order, etc. And so we hope that the students will be in place so that they can be trained over the summer and that they'll be ready to support our newly appointed student trustee as well. Are there any questions that you have?
Are you planning on having this in place by August?
We are.
Okay.
We had nominations and applications open. So we know that 70% of the schools have people that are in the pike who are ready to be interviewed by their college committees. And so we'll be working on the others to get them ready as well. So our goal is July 1, we'll have a group, we'll get them through training, and they'll be ready to go for the fall semester.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really, really wonderful news, and we appreciate everyone's efforts. And Mr. Saar, as the chair of the policy committee, our newly approved board policy on the student board member will now need to be changed to designate the Maricopa Student Senate as the organization that will foster the selection of the student board member in the future.
Wonderful.
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
$13.1 is our monthly report on employment. Any questions? 14.1 is the monthly burn report, the budget analysis report. Any questions? Okay, moving to governing board reports on current event summaries. Mr. Hendricks?
Well, it's been kind of a slow month here for me. I spent some time with the legislature the last week as they were finalizing their budget, and it was somewhat entertaining, somewhat embarrassing at times when you see how some of the legislators look at us down here. I was down there on my own, representing myself, lobbying for a number of issues that were being discussed in the legislature, and I frequently would clarify that I do not represent Maricopa, although I'm a board member. But I frequently made it clear that I don't represent Maricopa or the board. And we were out at dinner one night, and I had 6 legislators there, myself and a lobbyist, and they were having some good-natured fun as they were poking fun at me, telling me I'm on the board, and I'm quick to tell them I don't represent Maricopa. And they're talking about another guy running around down there who claimed he represented Maricopa, and I guess at some point during the week somebody from Maricopa called and said, no, this guy doesn't represent us. We don't know why he's claiming that. And then later on in the last couple of days in the session, after it was stated that he doesn't represent Maricopa by by Maricopa, he decided that he was authorized by some board members. I don't know who that would have been, but I don't know what the guy stands for, but I thought he was a union lobbyist for our faculty union. Not sure what he really is, but as we're sitting there having dinner and they're kind of poking fun at me because I'm so adamant that I don't represent anything down here. I'm there on my own for my own personal reasons as a taxpayer and a citizen. And the one guy sitting at the table, he made the comment, clown show. And I just got to wonder, are we a clown show down here? Is that how people look at us as we have these kinds of things going on? We've got, I mean, the guy that was down there, I know him. I respect him. I think whatever he represented, he believed to be true. I think somebody gave him the idea that he was representing some faction of Maricopa. I don't know. But it was an interesting time down there again this year as it was last year. I guess I'd like to express thanks to Speaker Bowers and President Fan. They did include us in the budget this year, and there were a number of issues that affected the community colleges, so I'm glad that they listened to people that were down there talking, including myself. I'm glad they gave consideration to the decisions they made, and I'm glad they gave thought and concern to the things that they were asked to consider.
Dr. Narini.
Thank you. I want to first welcome Alejandra for being on the board, and also want to thank and congratulate all the committees that put on graduation. They did such a spectacular job. It was great because you didn't know they were there. They did such a good job. Everything went so smoothly, and it was really exciting. So I really appreciate that. And the other exciting thing that I did was I met with Professor Emeritus Jose Torres this last week and had breakfast with him. He was the professor, and this is the impact that our faculty and folks have on individuals. 40 years ago, he took me under his wing and just did a couple things to help me graduate. And here I am 40 years later just because of the kindness and faith that he had in me. So I was really excited to have breakfast with him. I hadn't seen him in 40 years, and it was wonderful to finally thank him for all that he did for me.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan.
I wanted to acknowledge that I thought this experience that I had this year, attending convocations and graduations, was one of the momentous times of my recent life, because it was extremely rewarding to shake the hand of so many people that were very proud of their accomplishments. And to be there to shake their hand and feel their pride was just overwhelming and also very humbling. And I wanted to express my appreciation to all of you who led every single one of those students to that stage or to receive a credential in some regard. It's a privilege to serve with you, and it's certainly an honor to have the opportunity to experience the joy and the celebration of so many families and friends. So that was pretty spectacular, and I can't account for all the hours that all of you spent. Mine were meager and I was tired. So good for all of you, and congratulations to every single one of you who impacted a student this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Nguyen.
I also want to echo. Sorry. I also want to echo the college graduations this year were just really what we do and what we do so well. And I continue to share this story because I was blown away by the success of the Phoenix College Preparatory Academy with 100% graduation, 100% going to college, half of those kids having degrees. Just the success, and they were a failing school, I think 6 or 7 years ago. So if we can do that there, that's a story that we need to tell. And I know we're doing that at all of our campuses. This is just the one I was just so impressed with. These young people graduating high school also had graduated half of them the week before. And the minimum was 30 hours,
the ones that didn't get their certificate or their degree before graduating high school, but 100% with $1.3 million in college scholarships. That's a story worth telling. So I'm really proud to be part of the system, and I look forward to the things that we're doing. I think we're headed in the right direction. Thank you.
Mrs. McGrath?
I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Saar?
Yeah, I'm going to echo the echo of the echo, and this is a favorite time. This is my 9th year going through this cycle in May, and never gets old. Of all the graduations that I've seen over the years, every one of them has a different group, and every one of them has a different smile and look into their eyes, and there's a different future in all their lives ahead of them because we've had a part of it. So thank you to all those that have worked on that.
Mm-hmm. We're kind of broken records up here. I also want to thank the faculty, staff, and administration for putting on some really spectacular events in terms of the award ceremonies, the convocations, and the graduations. I had the opportunity to attend 3 graduations, and each of them were unique, and each of them were equally special. Although I do have to give a shout out to Paradise Valley Community College that had the rock band do the recessional. Clearly a unique experience. And we do have one more meeting in this academic year. In June, the board will not be meeting in July. Our next meeting is July 25th, 2019 at 6:30. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Third. We are adjourned.